My fiancé and my younger sister got involved on the day of our engagement. I felt sick to my stomach when I overheard them whispering in a corner, confessing their love for each other while guests were still congratulating us inside. William and I had been in a long, distance relationship for 7 years. All the way from our sophomore year until now. I always thought distance made love stronger. I thought I knew him better than anyone. I thought I was different. Special. And Susan, she'd been trailing behind me like a shadow for those same 7 years. Clinging to me and calling William, brother. She would smile so sweetly at me, acting innocent. Just a harmless little sister. To me, that's all they were, practically siblings. William treated her that way too. Ruffling her hair, patting her head, scolding her gently when she pouted. I never once imagined he'd see her as anything more. But maybe I was blind, maybe I just didn't want to see it. Susan is my younger sister, same father, different mother. My parents divorced early, but my father never let go of me. He said I was his pride, his only hope, because of my talent. He clung to me so tightly that sometimes it felt like I couldn't breathe. When Susan was little, she was adorable, her chubby cheeks always rosy, drooling on my shoulder as she hugged me to sleep. Back then, she felt like my baby too. I used to hold her tiny hands and promise to protect her. But as she grew up, somewhere around kindergarten, the sweetness wore off. She started throwing tantrums for no reason, accusing me of things I'd never done. I would catch her staring at me when she thought I wasn't looking, her eyes sharp and cold instead of wide and innocent. I didn't know when it started. The bitterness, the resentment. Or maybe it had always been there, hidden under that baby smile. Maybe I was just too stupid to notice. And now here I was, standing in my white dress, my father's pride, William's loyal fiancé, listening to them promise each other forever behind my back. The worst part, neither of them knew I was standing right there. She would say things like, "Daddy, if you want to hit someone, hit me. I get so scared when you two fight. Sister enjoys it, so give it to her. Can my sister forgive me?" I didn't mean to. At the time, I had no idea what manipulation was. How could a young child of ulterior motives? However, my father's attitude toward me shifted from good to bad, worsening over time, especially since my stepmother was Susan's biological mother. My position at home became more precarious. I worked harder at studying and dancing in the hopes that my father would love me more, but it was to no avail. My father always thought I was bullying Susan, while she suffered silently. Wasn't I wary of Susan while I was dating William? That was fine. For the first 2 years, I was in college while she was in high school. By the time I graduated, she had already begun planning for college. Every weekend when William and I had a date, she would relentlessly try to contact me, claiming sisterly affection. I wanted to distance myself from her, but she would cry and ask, "Sister, do you not like me anymore? What did I do wrong? Tell me and I will change. I'm so sad that you treat me like this." I'd roll my eyes as she continued. William would mediate, stating that Susan was still young, enjoyed following me, and should be allowed to do so. He would ask me not to be too harsh on Susan. We argued about it several times. He said I was unreasonable and shouldn't argue with a child, but I said he didn't understand and had no right to intervene. We nearly broke up but didn't. Later, when Susan clung to me, William remained silent and let me handle it. I'm Sue, a dancer who works for the Provincial Cultural and Arts Troupe, and is regarded as a pillar of the troupe. William works as a programmer and has already become a project manager in a private company. He is young, promising, and has thick hair. Everyone said we were a perfect match, and many people asked when our engagement ceremony would be. Before we could marry, we had to have an engagement ceremony. First, William and I reserved a hall at a nearby 5-star hotel, specifically for its duplex structure. It had a spiral staircase with bright crystal chandeliers, with the first floor used for entertaining guests, and the second floor for dressing rooms and lounge areas. In the dressing room, I was touching up my makeup. In contrast to me, who wore t-shirts and jeans every day, my sister's dress was stunning, emphasizing all of her strengths. This lipstick complemented her so well. Is this what they call a man killer? I'm clumsy, I do not know how to apply makeup. Sister, may you teach me in the future? I inquired, looking at her through the mirror. Okay, she said, looking overjoyed. I couldn't tell if she was truly naive or just pretending. After all these years, I didn't like her. It was obvious. How could she keep pretending to be so close to me? Sue, it's almost time for me to go downstairs to be with Mom and Dad. Susan rushed out, leaving the makeup artist stunned. Sue, your sister, is both lively and naive. At this event, everyone is dressed elegantly, except her, who is dressed casually in a t-shirt and jeans. The makeup artist commented, and I smiled without responding. Some things are better left unsaid to outsiders. William was late picking me up, and nobody answered the phone. I called a friend downstairs, who said he'd gone upstairs a while ago. I went upstairs for a while. Women's intuition is truly mysterious. My thoughts were preoccupied with Susan at the time. Without hesitation, I stood up and walked out, swaying. My dress was in a lounge near the dressing room, with the door slightly open. I could hear voices coming from it. I walked over and heard William say, "This is the last time I will call you brother. From now on, you will be my brother-in-law. I am so sad. Sister is thrilled to be able to marry you. You are such a good person. Sister must have saved the galaxy in her previous life." Susan replied, "What should we do, brother? I like you." William advised Susan not to do this. "My sister and I are about to hold our engagement ceremony." The room went silent. I hesitated for a moment, then pushed the door open. The two of them were already on the couch, William passionately kissing Susan with one hand that was not within the appropriate bounds under Susan's dress. My entire body felt frozen. This was supposed to be the setting for our engagement. Did they feel no shame? Susan was the first to notice me. They scrambled to get up from the couch, one with bird's nest-like hair and the other with a crumpled suit. "It was not easy to look at, sister. It's not what you think, Sue, let me explain." William spoke quickly. Standing in front of Susan, their strategic positions were too prominent. When did these two start? Even if today was the tipping point, they had been flirting for a long time. I attempted to smile at Susan. "It isn't what I think. It's what I saw," and I sneered at William. "Your words say no, but your actions are entirely honest. The engagement ceremony today does not have to be cancelled. Change the bride on the bride's side." "William, we're finished. Consider it as if I never knew you." I turned, and tears streamed down my cheeks in an instant. Years of love were swept away in an instant. Susan followed me out, grabbing my arm and dropping to her knees, slapping herself across the face. The sharp smack echoed through the room downstairs, leaving only Susan's pleading cries to fill the vast space. "Sister, please forgive me and William this time. It was not intentional." I was mentally prepared to address him as brother-in-law. "We did not do anything wrong. Please believe me, and let us proceed with your engagement properly." "Okay." Her words made me laugh in anger. With this situation, how could we continue the engagement? Should we ignore the obvious issue at hand? William stood by the lounge door, unmoving, staring at me and Susan, mostly Susan, with a look of pity in his eyes. My heart sank further. How had I not realized that before? You two had gotten to a point where you couldn't control your emotions. You two are furious. I turned and dashed downstairs in my 9-inch high heels and long skirt with a wide hem. I lifted my skirt in front, but it was stepped on from behind, sending me tumbling down the stairs like a rolled-up dumpling. The pain in my body felt more real than the screams. Everyone rushed to my side. I struggled to stand up, only to discover that my right ankle could not move. As a dancer, I knew the difference between a sprain and a fracture. My heart felt cold. "Quickly transport me to the hospital." I described it as the darkest moment of my life. In one day, I lost both my lover and my career. My ankle had shattered. The doctor told me I needed surgery with a steel plate and might never be able to dance again. Several of the troupe's dancers turned away, wiping away tears. William blamed himself as he knelt by my bedside, repeatedly promising to care for me for the rest of my life. Susan stood at the ward door, crying uncontrollably and occasionally looking at William like a wronged little wife. I ignored them. My stepmother is unable to bear. It did not feel suitable for her daughter. "Your sister didn't push you down. Why are you causing such a fuss? It's just a lost leg for you, but for her, it's a lost love." I felt nothing but ashes in my heart, not only for William, but for the entire family as well. I looked at my stepmother calmly. "If William prefers her, may I break her leg for you?" Since that day, I no longer needed to pretend with my stepmother. Our only interaction was when she instructed my father to inform me that she had packed up all of my belongings from childhood to adulthood, and that I should move out. She wanted to free up my room for other purposes. I nodded and handed my father my house key, asking him to help me move my belongings so that they wouldn't take up too much space. William came to see me every 2 or 3 days, but I ignored him and told him to leave. He would silently cut fruit for me and pour water for me, promising that once I recovered, we would receive our marriage certificate, and he would care for me for the rest of my life. Susan, on the other hand, arrived every day, crying and pleading for forgiveness. I told her to leave, and she would kneel, wailing, afraid that others would not realize how wronged she felt, whether by coincidence or something else. William noticed her kneeling several times as he looked at her. He had the same look of pity as that day, but when he looked at me, he seemed hesitant. almost pleading with me to treat Susan better. Finally, the two of them went from leaving one after the other to leaving together. No longer bothering to hide their emotions, the other patients began commenting on William, saying, "Your boyfriend appears nice to your sister's boyfriend is good. He cares deeply about you." The older sister, what can I say? Could I admit that I had sacrificed one leg to satisfy this couple? I hurriedly asked them to leave. "Please leave instead of coming here to put on a show. Why not go on a date and spend time rolling around in bed? Didn't we leave something unfinished last time? Susan, please do not be like this. William and I are only friends. We did not do anything. If this bothers you, we will refrain from further communication." I rolled my eyes. "Stop for the rest of my life. Please refrain from appearing in front of me again." Susan began crying again. William drew her away and left without looking back. My father had placed the packed items in my living room, 4 woven bags filled with clothes, books, photo frames, basic skincare products, slippers, toothpaste, and chargers thrown together haphazardly. I used my cane to select valuable items before calling the recycling station to collect the old clothes and books. My relationship with that family ended after 22 years, when they removed everyone from the family photo except me. I sent some money to my father as a way to thank him for raising me. The Cultural and Art Museum offered me a new office job that was not taxing and very relaxing. Every day after work, I would lean on my cane and watch my former partners dance. Dancing had always been my destiny, more critical than William. This is why I despised Susan. If she hadn't stepped on my dress that day, I would not have fallen down the stairs. The envy and loneliness in my eyes were visible in the mirror in the practice room. "Sue, come here." The deputy leader personally introduced me to a part-time position at a children's art center, which a friend of mine runs. They needed someone to teach 6 dance classes on weekends, and I hoped to help by demonstrating movements and training the teachers. If there was time, I was hesitant at first, but he said, "Consider it a break. Your dancing abilities are exceptional, it is wasteful not to use them. Talented individuals can shine anywhere, not just on stage. Sue, they need you." The dance class job kept my weekends busy and fulfilling, leaving little time to think about anything else. The children's innocent smiles and lovely eyes represented life and redemption. For me, I appreciated the deputy leader's good intentions. The weight of life that is too heavy to bear will eventually force you to accept it and make the appropriate compromise. 1 month after leaving the hospital, I discarded my cane as long as I avoided strenuous exercise. My mobility was identical to that of the average person. I still wanted to dance and practiced basic skills by demonstrating them to the kids, without putting any weight on my right ankle. I would occasionally test the condition of my right foot, holding on to a glimmer of hope. What if I could dance again? 6 months later, on a Saturday night, I spoke with another man named Peter. There was no class that evening, so I practiced choreography alone, trying to see if I could jump as the new year approached. The art center was gearing up for a performance, and I was choreographing a dance for the kids, which included a simple jump. I specifically controlled the height, but my right ankle was still unable to handle it. I fell to the ground, and Peter rushed in, half kneeling in front of me, anxious to know how I was. We were unfamiliar with each other. He was simply a relative of one of my students who had picked up the child at that time. He was more concerned with the child's dancing than the child's mother, who was constantly inquiring about the child's health. After school that day, something unusual occurred. When Peter rushed up to me, my focus shifted from my foot to his shoes. Shoes were not permitted in the practice room. He was wearing shiny leather shoes as I stared at them. He quickly removed them and held them in his hand, smiling as his entire face relaxed. "I've never seen anyone like you who, despite being injured, is still concerned about keeping the floor clean. The pain has subsided. Would you like me to take you to the hospital?" My ankle was fine. The pain had subsided since the beginning, and I seemed to be able to bear it. I did not need to go to the hospital. Peter assisted me in changing my shoes in the doorway before retrieving my coat and bag from the shelf. He casually mentioned that his nephew was learning to paint here on Saturday evenings, as if this would explain why he was here at night. He reminded me to use my right foot less, take care of the injury, and avoid aggravating the situation. Finally, he assisted me downstairs and watched as I entered a ride-hailing car, apologizing. "If I hadn't had to pick up the child, I would have driven you home." I didn't pay much attention to his words and had no intention of allowing a stranger to drive me home, so I thanked him and left that evening. The following week, when Peter returned to pick up the child, I took the figurine box from my bag after inquiring about the child's dancing performance, as was customary. "I appreciate your help last week." He was surprised. It was only a small favor. Do you need to thank me like this? Are you afraid of owing favors to others? It's only a small token of my appreciation. I said. I saw it while shopping and wasn't sure if you'd like it. I'm not sure which words struck a chord with him, but he accepted the small box with a smile. I like it. At that point, several children who hadn't left yet rushed over, including his niece, the teacher. Do we have one too? We also want a gift. Their eager eyes fixed on me, and I couldn't help but smile. I smiled as I took out lollipops, chocolates, and fish sausages from my bag to share with the kids. Their faces lit up with joy as they eagerly grabbed the treats and spread them around. Peter smiled as he watched the scene and asked, "Did I make you spend money?" I shake my head. I bought these for them initially. Since becoming a teacher at the organization, I frequently purchase small snacks as additional rewards for my students. Sue, after receiving your gift, allow me to treat you to dinner. I apologize, but I already have plans with someone else. I responded to my surprise. Half an hour later, I was sitting in a nearby steakhouse, cutting meat with a knife and fork and eating small bites. Peter and the child stood next to my table. What a coincidence, he said, pointing to the couch across from me. Your company did not show up. I smiled calmly. He had an unexpected situation arise. You don't mind. He motioned toward the couch again. What can I say? I could only smile and say, it is better to meet by chance than by appointment. Peter was more talkative and humorous than I was, which made me feel out of my element. Cindy, his niece, kept looking at him with curiosity. I followed her gaze, and Peter chuckled after such a long period of parental image maintenance. It's challenging to return to everyday life. The child is unused to it. He explained that Cindy snorted through her nose. Peter's doting expression ruffled Cindy's hair. Cindy rolled her eyes and snorted again. I felt a twinge of envy for their family atmosphere. I had no contact with my mother after she left my father. My father's attention was solely on my stepmother and Susan. This evening, I received a friend verification message from Peter. He added me through Cindy's mom's business card push, and that's how I learned his name. He sent a photo of the robot figurine I gave him, which was placed on his desk next to a laptop corner. Thank you, I enjoy it, you are welcome, I responded. After that, Peter would occasionally like my social media posts, and I would sometimes reciprocate. Through these interactions, I unexpectedly learned that he knew the leader and deputy leader of our provincial art troupe, and their relationship appeared to be quite good. However, Peter's social media posts made it difficult to determine what he did. He might have restricted some posts. From my perspective, William communicated with me via messages on occasion. How are your feet doing? Much better. Thank you. We could no longer be lovers, but we didn't have to be enemies. I never blocked him or considered doing so because adult estrangements frequently drift apart. Susan was the one who kept posting affectionate messages and privately messaged me to ask for forgiveness. Can you forgive me, sister? You are wonderful. Many other men prefer you, but I only have William. I can't leave him. Which ring, sister, do you think looks better? She sent a photo of a string of diamond rings, one of which was almost identical to my engagement ring at the time. Every time Susan sent me a message asking for forgiveness and bragging about her relationship, I felt suffocated. I responded with one sentence. She would mostly say how good I was and how much she loved me. On this particular day, she replied, "Sister, you must be angry about what you said. I am so sad. After all, you've lived in this room for over 10 years. I rolled my eyes, turned off the screen, cursed her under my breath, and gazed out the window. Peter chuckled beside me. I turned to him quietly, accusing you of enjoying it when someone else is upset. Do you know, he said, rolling your eyes makes you look even more lively and cute than usual. I immediately replied, are you driving? How could my eye rolling be so obvious? Peter did not respond, but pursed his lips, a slight smile playing on the corner of his mouth. Cindy, sitting in the back, spoke up. Sue, my uncle wishes he could keep an eye on you. Peter smiled and looked at Cindy in the rearview mirror. I turned around and pretended to be serious. Children don't talk nonsense. I am not talking nonsense, Cindy retorted, looking at Peter provocatively and speaking in an adult tone. My mother said, how old are you? I can't even chase girls properly. Must use your niece as a shield. I felt embarrassed on the spot. Peter was not entirely at ease either. He raised his left hand, resting it on the window frame, rubbed his temple, and tried to lighten the awkward atmosphere with a smile. Caught red-handed, right? He glanced at me and changed the subject. Sue, don't you remember me? I honestly didn't remember. It was only after Peter's half directly stated that I remembered a year ago when someone would send a basket of flowers after each performance. Peter signed those baskets back then. We'd met once after a performance. Peter, accompanied by the troupe leader, personally invited me to perform at their company's annual meeting, promising generous compensation. I declined to state the reason directly. I had to go to my boyfriend's hometown to meet his parents. Following that, neither Peter nor his flower baskets appeared again. It struck me like a thunderbolt. "Sue, now that you're in my car, I'll be able to pursue you, finally," Peter inquired with a playful smile. The thunderbolt in my heart faded, giving way to a mix of relief and disappointment. I was just an ordinary woman with the same desires as everyone else. I wanted someone to like me. Who was I compared to a star? I chuckled at myself and shifted my gaze outside the window, beyond the city. Lights were turning on now. I was just a dancer who might never perform again, an administrative assistant at the provincial arts troupe, and a teacher at a children's arts school. "You're the brightest." Peter's voice sounded deep and slow, as if he had pondered it for some time. "Sue, should we give it a try?" The enclosed space in the car was quiet. I thought for a moment before saying, "Okay." Peter turned out to be the perfect boyfriend. Every morning, he would drive halfway across the city with fresh flowers to pick me up for work. In the afternoon, he'd pick me up from work, we'd eat dinner together, and then drive me home. This routine remained consistent from Monday to Friday. On weekends when I worked at the art gallery, he would spend the entire day with me. He would either work on his laptop in the parents' rest area, occasionally looking at the monitors, or stand in the corridor near the classrooms, sneakily watching me. William had never shown me this level of care and attention before. It was sweet. The troop leader teased me after seeing Peter a few times. "It's not easy to be patient and watch the moon emerge from the clouds." The deputy leader chimed in. "When is the wedding banquet?" I wasn't sure how to respond. My relationship with Peter was starting, and marriage seemed a distant prospect. However, Peter continued smoothly. "Thank you for your well wishes. I'll keep working hard, and I would appreciate it if you said a few more kind words about me. Please help me get Sue home sooner." The troop leader and deputy leader exchanged meaningful glances with me, as if to say, "You can do it." I remained noncommittal. The troop leader asked me in private if I was truly clueless or just pretending to be so. I was perplexed. The troop leader had to point out that Peter was a well-known, wealthy bachelor worth billions of dollars who was ruthless in business, but had a soft spot for me. I should seize this opportunity. In contrast, I was hesitant. I knew Peter was out of character based on his car attire and mannerisms, but I had no idea to what extent until now. I felt undeserving and wanted to retreat, unsure of what to do. Our relationship had reached a stalemate. I didn't want to commit, and he didn't want to back out. We were more than friends, but not lovers. A receptionist at the Children's Art Institution once told me that Peter is very handsome and elegant. Every time he comes here, he expresses genuine concern for you. While other parents concentrate on their children, he is constantly watching you. His fondness is written all over his face. The last time you fell, his face went pale before we could react. He had already rushed out without even taking his phone. This is true love. I remembered Peter rushing into the dance studio, half kneeling in front of me, nervous at first, then smiling and asking if I was all right. He effortlessly explained why he was there, assisted me in dressing, carried my bag, and escorted me downstairs, but did not accompany me home. Very considerate. "When did you start designing for me?" I sat in his car that night and inquired with a smile. "I heard you were single." Peter responded without shying away from the topic. I felt like I couldn't pass up this opportunity anymore. Rather than waiting for someone else to make me happy, I decided to take a chance. "I can do it better than most men." His voice became deeper. "I was afraid you'd make the wrong decision. Settling for someone inferior to me, and I'm worried I'll regret it." In the background, Nordic folk music played ethereally and coldly. I looked at him. It was the most heartfelt confession I'd ever heard. "Peter, I want to see a movie." "Okay." At the movie theater, I let him kiss me. In some male-female relationships, crossing a certain threshold leads to the next step. Peter was a kissing enthusiast. Every morning after handing me a rose, he'd lean in and kiss my lips. After I buckled my seatbelt, he'd lean in for another peck laugh. I said, "That's enough in public." He chuckled and touched his lips. Still doesn't seem satisfied. I have been thinking about this all the time. Those few kisses didn't feel like enough to do anything. I did not bother responding. He proceeded on his own. "Sue, why do you smell so good?" I joked. "It's probably just mouthwash." When we arrived below the arts troupe, he joined in the laughter and began the familiar routine of repeated kisses. "Kisses, kisses. You must control yourself. Everybody you know is watching." I gently pushed him away. "Everyone in the troupe is aware that I am pursuing you. What is there to control?" Peter said, hugging my waist tighter with one hand. "Furthermore, I've already demonstrated much self-control. If I didn't, his words would have trailed off. As his gaze fell on my lips, my heart raced and my mind filled with inappropriate yet beautiful imagery. I almost wanted to run away. A low chuckle emanated from behind. I never imagined that being in a relationship with a mature man could be so sweet. Even sweeter than a first love with Peter, he knew when and when not to act. In his words, after taking nine steps, I'll extend my hand on the final step. You only need to place your hand in mine and then take the final step. He'd still accept it. Everything would be fine as long as I did not retreat. Under the night sky, beneath a towering clock tower, Peter held me tightly. Regret lingered in his voice. I have missed you for many years. At that point, I was already on my way to meet my boyfriend's parents. If you show up now, you will be a homewrecker, I mumbled into his arms. Remember, we had yet to meet each other's parents. It was as if I were a thorn in his side, as he squeezed me even tighter, his nose rubbing against mine. Apart from seeking my wife's advice, my marriage is none of anyone else's business, no matter who it is. They're being informed. So, wife, when are you planning to marry me? I stayed silent. I decided to retract my assessment of him as a mature man. We had only completed 999 of the agreed-upon 1,000 steps, and he was already attempting to step over the final one, taking on the title of wife without consulting me. William's booming voice echoed over the phone, interrogating me without using my name. Are you with someone else now? I was taken aback. William, we've been apart for a long time. You and Susan have a child. Cannot I have a boyfriend? I shot back. Oh, which child have you forgotten? We've committed. It was you hugging Susan that day, right? We broke up. We broke up that very day. You're not cut out for double dealing like this. What happened in the breakup? When did I ever agree to break up? You've been avoiding me all this time. Peter immediately took the phone from my grasp. William, you don't mince words, right? I am Peter Sue's current boyfriend. Please do not harass my girlfriend, or I will have to call the police. I had no idea how William reacted. When Peter finished speaking, he hung up and blocked William's number. I looked at him in astonishment. That is my phone. Did you block someone without my consent? He smiled. Sometimes a girlfriend has to listen to her boyfriend. He returned the phone to me. This was the first time I saw his possessive side. William and Susan must have seen me with Peter on the same day, because William had called the day before. Susan arrived at my doorstep the next day, outside the art institution's practice room. When I noticed her standing just half a step behind Peter, chatting as if they were finishing up a conversation, she had a bright smile on her face. My heart skips a beat. I'd lost to her before, and I was afraid she was trying to repeat history. What are you here for? I was enraged, even more so than when she used to pester. William, Peter and I approached each other, turned to look at Susan with a raised eyebrow, as if inquiring. Susan appeared to be full of complaints. Sister, I miss you. It has been so long since I last saw you. Mom and Dad miss you too. When are you going back? She pleaded with Peter and stuttered. Peter, please speak with sister on my behalf. I couldn't control my rage and turned to leave. Peter caught up to me and asked if I was upset with him for talking to other women. I am not mad at you. I'm simply uncomfortable. I sighed and said, sorely Peter, we just met, but we're already brother and sister. I didn't ask her to call me sister. Peter smirked smugly. Sue, are you jealous? How about you call me brother? I glared at him. He continued to coax. If you call me brother, no one else in the world will dare to do so. I rolled my eyes at him, seeing his serious expression, and couldn't help but laugh. What a bizarre sense of humor. What a disgusting nickname. As it turned out, Peter did have a strange sense of humor. Much later during specific times or occasions, such as when we argued or made love. This nickname was like a switch. Susan developed a liking for Peter over time. Whenever I had something, she would look up at it and usually snatch it away. Following that meeting, she frequently visited art institutions on weekends, claiming to seek forgiveness from me, but in reality, she was trying to get close to Peter. Sue, be careful with your younger sister. She resembles a tea serpent. Peter warned. I've rejected her several times, but she keeps swooping in. I grunted in acknowledgement. I didn't spend as much time with Peter as I did with William. But for some reason, I trusted him. Men of his caliber could easily get attractive women with a wave of their hand. He did not disappoint my faith in him. I don't like it when people call me that. Susan, even though you are suing your sister, please address me as Peter or brother-in-law. Please respect yourself. It makes no difference whether I am good or not. I do not want Sue to misunderstand. I am not your William. Your tactics will not work on me. I can easily distinguish between a stone and a gem. The receptionist relayed these words to me, along with some flattery. Sue, Peter is beautiful. He speaks to Susan with a commanding presence. I've never seen a man reject a woman so emphatically. You should marry. Soon after hitting a wall with Peter, Susan turned to me for help, determined not to give up. She cried in front of the parents picking up their children, asking if I was still mad at her, because I had been blaming her, which was why her brother-in-law had ignored her. She stated that she had realized her mistake in having only one sister, and that nothing was more important than her sister. She asked how she could be forgiven. Did she have to kneel to kowtow? She cried so hard that she looked like she was going to pass out. The next second, many onlookers pointed fingers at each other. Sue, forgive her. How do siblings hold grudges? Isn't it normal for an older sister to give in to her younger sister? I laughed in frustration when she said the older sister had to give in to the younger sister. What if the younger sister is a scoundrel? I observed the crowd. The most effective way to deal with green tea was to make public accusations. At my engagement ceremony, my sister went to confess her love to my fiancé, and they both rolled on the couch, caught up in infidelity. My sister stepped on my skirt, sending me tumbling down the stairs and breaking my leg. I am a dancer who cannot perform. What exactly did it mean? She appeared agitated and delicate, frequently kneeling to apologize, forcing me to forgive her. Do you dare to have a sister like this? I pointed to Susan. Her mother stated, I only lost one leg. She lost love. I couldn't understand. She was the third person. What reason did she have to call it love? Even more ridiculous. While I was still in the hospital, she came and went with my fiancé. She asked her mother to kick me out of the house, intending to convert my room into their lover's nursery. After several months of no contact, she returned once she saw I had a new boyfriend. My voice grew louder as I spoke the truth. Susan feels ashamed while angry. The spectators shook their heads, unable to believe what they saw through Susan's deceitful tears. She's sobbing pitifully. It turned out she was pretending to be a third party and pushing Sue down the stairs. Such a person should be publicly condemned. Sue did not follow through. She had gone too far. Did seeing Sue with a good man inspire her to seduce her new brother-in-law? Shameless. The main distinction between acquaintances and strangers is that acquaintances are bound by courtesy and will only gossip behind one's back. It is more difficult to tolerate insults from strangers. So, at the engagement ceremony back then, many people appeared uneasy but remained silent. Susan bolted, covering her face. Peter stood firmly by my side, smirking and resting one hand on my waist as he saw William again. It had been 10 months since our last meeting. He looked haggard as ever, with deep dark circles under his eyes, cracked lips, and a shaving cut on his chin. If not for his clean clothes, well-groomed hair and shoes, and bouquet of roses, I would have assumed he had just emerged from a coal mine in Shaanxi. Sue, let us make amends. William rushed over and handed me the roses along with a jewelry box. His colleagues, who had witnessed the previous drama, gave me an inquisitive look. I nodded, hoping to make it clear to William. William, we are no longer in a relationship. Please do not disturb me with the flowers and jewelry. Instead, give them to Susan. I'm not interested in being a third party. I have a date with my boyfriend. He'll arrive soon. William frowned. I'm only now realizing that I was the one he truly loved. He claimed he had already broken up with Susan and that she was a bad luck charm. Ever since I've been with her, he'd been unlucky. His colleagues shunned him. He lost projects and nothing was going well. He claimed I was his lucky charm. When we were together, everything in his work seemed to fall into place, and he hoped to begin something new. He opened the jewelry box, revealing a sparkling diamond ring, the same one that was prepared for our engagement, but was not used. Susan had once taunted me with this ring, saying, "Leave this one for someone else." I do not need it. It turns out that hearing someone speak when you no longer love them is torture. So when Peter showed up at the company door, I nearly burst out laughing. I only had one thing to say to William: sorry, but my boyfriend is here. If everything goes well, I'll marry him, so don't come looking for me anymore. I'd never compared Peter and William before, but when I saw them together, the only word that came to mind was downgrade. Peter's tall figure and face exuded the word elite from both inside and out, whereas William's empty eyes suggested he hadn't slept in days. More importantly, William appeared to recognize Peter. His eyes were filled with hesitation and disbelief before he stammered Peter and quickly left. This time, even I couldn't understand. Is this your method of deterring a rival? I asked Peter. He did not respond to my question and instead changed the subject. I just heard someone say they are going to marry me. That was only a strategy. Please don't take it seriously. Peter, this isn't a strategy, I said. My voice wavered slightly. Peter reached into his pocket and took out a jewelry box. He took out a ring that he had saved for this occasion and put it on first so we could shoo away the flies. Otherwise, we will have to do it again. I paused. We'd been together for less than 3 months. Was it too quick to agree to marry? What about the 999 steps we decided to take? Peter seemed to sense my thoughts. Don't burden yourself, it's just chewing up flies. His tone was light, almost casual. Wouldn't proposing be more casual? How can you pass up the red wine, roses, chocolates, followed by a lavish dinner and citywide fireworks? I paused further. The ring he gave me was expensive, with a diamond at least 3 times the size of the one William had given me. It's not real, Peter said, sensing my hesitation, and slipped the ring onto my finger. I laughed and hung up the phone. Some people think they're clever dancers but can't dance. Painters are unable to hold a brush. Singers losing their voices and social media stars losing their looks are both critical for survival. Dance was more than a career to me. It was a dream and a way of life. I went to the art troupe to see Sue. She stood outside the practice room, looking through the glass door at the other dancers. Her expression moved me deeply. Sue was not a prodigy. She became our troupe's lead dancer entirely through hard work. The troupe leader had stated that her choice of men was not good. I chose the Children's Art Museum for my work. Cindy was already studying there, so I took on the responsibility of picking up and dropping off the kids. I made my sister's life easier, and she teased me about it. Cindy, you should support your uncle in the future. It is up to you whether or not you will have an aunt. Cindy readily consented. Sue and I were able to interact from that point forward. Every time I asked about her child after school, she never tired of answering. As she tried to adjust to this new life, Sue frequently danced in secret, testing her injured foot, which was a source of concern. I sat in the parents' rest area. My gaze remained fixed on her palms, sweating out the rest of the story you are all familiar with. She fell that day. And maybe, in a way, so did I. I helped her up, and that simple moment pulled us into something real. We ate together, dated, kissed under streetlights and stars. Falling in love with Sue felt like stepping into sunlight after years of shadows. She was softer, sweeter, warmer than I'd ever imagined. Sometimes I caught myself wishing I'd been braver back then. Maybe we could have had more time, more stolen nights, more memories. But at least we have now. When Susan came crawling back, I refused her outright. Women like her think they're rare gems. Young, pretty, offering themselves like bait. Convinced men will drop everything to worship them. They think that if they can conquer a man, they've conquered the world. William, poor William, traded a sky full of stars for a handful of pebbles. I almost feel sorry for him. But honestly, I thank him. His only real mistake was falling for Susan's tricks. He handed Sue and me that old, tainted engagement ring. A symbol of everything rotten he left behind. I didn't even have to lift a finger. I just quietly suggested to the boss of the software company that the African branch needed fresh blood. William left with nothing but a plane ticket and the sour taste of regret. Half a year later, Susan's fate came full circle. Just like Sue once did, she fell. But she wasn't so lucky. A shattered shin, a broken ankle. The universe's cruel little joke. And while they dealt with the mess they made, I married Sue. Half a year later, under a sky of fireworks and vows whispered at sunset, we promised forever. So here I am, Peter, asking for your blessings in this digital world. May every lover find their true love. May every good heart find a good ending. If you believe love wins in the end, hit that subscribe button. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that karma never sleeps. And comment below to wish Sue and me a lifetime of happiness. Let's fill this page with blessings.